And they are the Egyptians who have the two parts. Some points from Africa, some points from Asia and the Mediterranean Sea. Anyhow, I'm a tour guide, and a tour guide here in Egypt is not interested only in monuments and archaeology, because we say all of that. The case of Egypt is a very different case. Excuse me if you notice some tone of chauvinistic way of speaking about Egypt, but this is not the reality. The reality is that this country is a very special case. When we talk about the ancient Egyptian history, we talk about very big civilization. We talk about Mediterranean civilization. We talk about Arab world civilization. We talk about Roman, about Persian, about Turkish, about English, etc. So it is what we call a pivot country, very important country concerning the ancient history of the human culture, generally speaking. Before talking about the Egyptian culture, modern one, the current Egyptian culture that we are living nowadays, I have to talk about a very important factor, which was the main factor affecting the Egyptian culture over the last 10,000 years. This factor is the geography. Egypt is a very special case concerning the geography. It is an Afro-Asian country. Egypt is the only country which is Afro-Asian country. And that means that anthropology basis, cultural basis, geographical basis, historical basis, we have points from Africa and points from Asia. And that's why Egypt was always engaged to the Syrian history. And when we talk about Syrian history, or Syria as a political entity here in Egypt or in Arab world, we are talking about the big Syria, the great Syria. We are not talking about the Republic of Syria of Bashar al-Assad, but we are talking about Syria, about Jordan, about Palestine, and Lebanon. Those four countries representing for us all of the big Syria. And that's why strategy of Egypt depends always on securing the Egypt borders from Syria. And you may notice reading or seeing on the television that the problem of Egypt, of Arabs with Israel, etc. And Egypt was always the most interested part in this problem, because the problem of Palestine is affecting directly the security of the Egyptian borders. Okay? And that's why the geostrategists say always that, for example, the security of the United States starts from Mexico, and the security of Egypt starts from Palestine, and the security of Spain starts from Morocco, etc. Geography in Egypt, as I said, plays a very important role. This role made from Egypt a mixture of different kind of culture. And by the end of this cycle, we have to call those cultures as Egyptian culture. I mean, if you open any anthropology book, you will have, for example, the Arab culture, the African culture, the Mediterranean culture, and the Egyptian culture. So the Egyptian culture is based on different dimensions. It is Arab country, that's right. That's not only Arab country. It is African country, that's also right. It is Muslim country. It is culturally Christian country. Because you may know that Egypt was the first country all over the world to which the Christianity as a religion was introduced. And the Egyptians became Christians from the 1st century after Jesus Christ. It was the first political entity being Christian, was Egypt. And that's why nowadays we have a lot of Egyptian influence in the current Christian culture. For example, in the ancient Egyptian pharaohs, when poor people couldn't come to the temple to have some offerings because they couldn't pay it, so they come and they make a kind of letter to the god of the temple, to the local god of the city. This custom or this tradition, we still have it till nowadays in the Egyptian Christian churches. Concerning the same point, as I said, the geography here in Egypt forced the Egyptians to have the first state, the first political entity declared in the history of the world. I mean, that Egypt, due to the River Nile and the problem of the River Nile, and you may heard some problem that we have nowadays with the countries of the River Nile, but anyhow, the River Nile as the only water source that Egypt had in that time obliged Egyptians to have their own state, obliged Egyptians to have a government, authority. As we say nowadays, that the state is composed from three dimensions: people, land, and authority, which is the government, which is the law. So Egypt was obliged to have this entity before all the other parts of the world by the obligation of the River Nile. The Egyptians had to manage the river water, and that was difficult because if they set it free to the people, we would have a lot of wars. And you may know that nowadays the major part of problem that